Hi, um, welcome to Tuesday Yoga. Um, I'm maybe putting this up for the Y, so you may not know me. My name is Wendy Morrison, and I teach yoga at the Y. And I'm putting it up for Amy Lynn Ferris for the second class. So um, if you are a Monday second class person, then this is for you too. And I'm not real great at all this video stuff, so please excuse me if it doesn't come out being very professional. So we're going to start today, as we start every class, with a moment to recognize that we are here. We are here in this room, in this body, and that we came to this position. You're either seated or lying down, whichever is more comfortable for you. And we came to this position out of our choice, and we're looking for a position that is relaxing, where you're not struggling to be in that position. So if sitting up makes you struggle or makes you implode so that you're pulling way back just to hold yourself up, then you don't want to be doing that in any part of the yoga practice, but especially not this part. And we're aware of the environment around us. There might be sounds in the room, be my voice for one, but maybe there are other sounds. Just listen for a moment. See if you hear sounds. Those sounds could be inside the room or outside the room. And we recognize that none of those sounds are meant to disturb us. We notice also that we are touching some element of the ground. Maybe you're sitting on your blanket or on your mat or lying down on your mat or on the rug, wherever. And noticing that the body feels that touch at whatever point is touching the ground. So the buttocks maybe, or the back body. And that as you breathe, you can notice that that changes just a little bit. The breath is changing the pose as you breathe. Maybe more of it is touching the floor as you inhale, and less of it is touching the floor as you exhale. Or maybe there's a sense of moving up or down if you're seated and you inhale and exhale. So you're just noticing. There's nothing to judge, just noticing if there is any change in that sensation as you're breathing. You might also notice with your eyes closed that there is light on the eyelids, or maybe you have the lights out and it's very dark. Relatively dark. And as you're noticing, again, that the breath is coming in and going out, you're not trying to make the breath have any pattern. You're not trying to make it be big or small or anything. It just comes and it goes. And you're observing that it comes and goes. It will touch different parts of the body at different times. For you, it may touch a certain part of the body and you're unaware of it touching any other parts of the body. That's fine. Just notice where the breath touches the body as it comes in and how the body expels the air back out. And you notice that your mind might be a busy mind or a quiet mind. And thoughts come and go. And you're just observing them. You're not identifying with them. They're not your thoughts, they're just thoughts. And those thoughts you've probably had many, many times before. Not very many of our thoughts during the day are original first-time thoughts. It happens. But it is so common for us to rethink the same thoughts over and over and over again. And they may come up now. So you're just watching. Such a good lesson to watch the thoughts, not identify with them, and watch them come and go. You may notice that you brought in with you some things like worries or anger or feelings of love and caring. You might notice you came in with certain thoughts and that they come up now. But whatever's there, you're just watching it. So I pick a card out of the basket of inspirational thoughts. And today's was laugh 30 times a day. It's also the same one I used on Monday because I love this. And it's so helpful to us right now. And when I send out this video, if you're on my email list, I'm also going to send you a web page of puns, which I think are quite good. And maybe it'll help you laugh more during this particular day. All right, so just a few more moments of watching the breath coming and going. You might notice that at the top of the inhalation, there's a moment of pause where there's no inhale, no exhale, no effort. And then the breath turns around and the exhalation comes. You may also notice at the end of the exhalation that there's a point where there's no breath, no strain, and you're just waiting for the breath to turn around to an inhale again. If you have those pauses at either end, either one or the other or both, just watch that and notice how comfortable it can feel when you're just waiting for the breath to turn around to the next phase, and that you're not straining to do that. If you're new to this practice, work at your own level. We're always working at our own level in yoga. We're always wanting to be clear and honest with ourselves. If something is beyond your level, modify it or don't do it. Not all yoga is good for all people. If it's not good for you, then just wait and see if the next thing is good for you. Work at your own level, and we're going to work at the edge of the stretch. So you only stretch as far as it's good for you to go. and work at the edge of the strength. So if you're losing your strength, come out of the pose and rest for a moment. The rest is part of the pose. So we will stop at the end of poses and rest. And in doing that, we can feel the integration of the pose, or allow the integration of the pose, and experience the body in its restful state. Don't be impatient with yourself. Allow that relaxation at the end of each pose to happen. It's okay. It's good. All right. So we're going to begin by lying on our backs and working with some breathing exercises in conjunction with movement exercises. So you're going on your back. You can put your blanket aside if you were using a blanket to sit on. And leave your knees bent. And draw your shoulder blades down your back. The shoulder blades will be down your back. Pull down your back, and that can happen in a couple of ways. One is to lean toward the right shoulder and walk your left shoulder blade down your back and put it on the floor and catch it on the floor. And now it's pulled down more than the right shoulder blade. Then lean toward the left, bring the right shoulder blade under, catch it on the mat, and you're looking for them to be equally pulled under. If your head juts up toward the ceiling, you want to put a little blanket underneath the back of the head so that the neck is a little bit longer and the chin can drop down a little bit. Now, the other way I like to do the shoulder blades is to, with my knees bent, put the balls of the feet on the floor and push into the floor while the shoulder blades are caught on the mat and pulled down your back. Now, just breathing for a moment. Notice what it's like to breathe in this new position. Look at putting your hands on your thighs, up close to the hip joint, up close to the front of the pelvis. So you're kind of underneath the pelvis with the heels of your hands and as close to the hip joint as you can be. But still on the thighs. And take a breath in. As you exhale, push into the thighs and let that exhalation happen. As you're pushing into the thighs, the abdomen might drop in, the waist might narrow, the lower back might lift a little bit away from the floor, but you have not changed your pelvis. It just stays neutral. And at the end, relaxing and inhaling. Exhaling and pressing, pushing away and into the top of the thigh. And the abdomen drops in. At the end of the exhalation, you might find a pause. No breath, no strain. And when you're ready, inhale, relax. Working back and forth in your own rhythm. And you may have a shorter exhalation than I do or a longer exhalation than I do. You just work into your own breath length. When you're ready to inhale, you inhale and relax the hands. And when you're ready to exhale, you press again. Two more rounds in your own rhythm. Notice the breath at the entrance to the nostrils. There may be a sound to the breath or no sound to the breath. After the second exhale and the pause at the end of the exhale, relax the arms and inhale. Now, as you exhale, you're going to draw the left knee back and hold on to the shin or the back of the thigh. Reach out through the right leg. And as you stretch that right heel away, also stretch the left hip away, but deepen that crease in the left hip. So you're drawing the leg closer to the torso. At the same time, the hip is moving toward the wall in front of you. When you're ready to inhale, you switch. And when you exhale, you press. Excuse me. And you're reaching through that left heel. And you're drawing the right leg back, but the hip joint on the right is moving toward the wall in front of you. Inhale and switch. Maybe you reach your arms over your head. And exhale and press. And notice that as you move that left hip toward the wall in front of you, the buttock moves a little bit toward the floor. So the lower back is not being smashed flat into the floor. Switching whenever you're ready. And again, you're noticing the 4 phases of the breath. There may be a pause at the end of the inhalation. There may be a pause at the end of the exhalation, or there may not be. We started with the left leg back, and we're going to end with the right leg back. So whenever you get to that point, just rest for a moment. And the chin is down a little bit as you're pressing. Not pulled all the way down to the chest by any means, but just keeping the back of the neck long. And when you're relaxing, you could have the feet behind the buttocks or not. And you're watching the breath as it comes and goes. Now we're going to bring the knees back toward the chest. You could raise your arms before you do that, or not. As you exhale, you're going to bring the feet off the floor and draw the abdomen toward the spine, hollow out the lower back, narrow the waist. Same action that happens when you're pressing into the thighs. Draw the knees back, and at the same time, take the hips toward the wall in front of you and take the buttocks a little toward the floor. Inhale, raise the legs, raise the arms. Exhale, bend the knees, hug the shins or the backs of the thighs. Inhale, raise the legs, raise the arms. If this is too much for your shoulders, then you could put your hands at your side instead. Exhale, hug in again. The abdomen moves in toward the lower back, but the lower back does not smash into the floor because the buttocks is moving a little toward the floor. And yet you're bringing the thighs closer and closer to the abdomen as the hips move a little bit toward the wall in front of you. Now inhale and reach again. And exhale and hug in again. Holding on to the knees. As you inhale, let the knees float away from the face and rest in your fingertips. As you exhale, hug in again. As you inhale, float the knees away and let them rest in your fingers. Back and forth with your own breath rhythm. Now, the next time you inhale, take the knees away and out to either side. Right knee to the right, left knee to the left. And as you exhale, bring the knees back up and in toward the center. Inhale, float them away and out. And exhale and come back up and together. Inhale away and out. And exhale back up and together. Now take a breath in and just relax with the knees back. As you exhale, go out to the center and start down. Go out to either side, and start down and inhale. When you reach the bottom, you should have your inhale completing. Exhale, come back up the center and out to the sides, and inhale, go down to the bottom and into the center. Exhale up the center and out. And inhale down to the bottom and in. And in your own rhythm, 2 more rounds. And then relax with your knees in a comfortable position. You could put your feet on the floor if you'd like. Or leave your knees bent, whichever feels good for you. If you put your feet down, put them down one at a time, or draw the abdomen in, narrow the waist, and bring the feet down. Again, taking the shoulder blades down the back. Now everyone is back to neutral with the feet behind the buttocks. So if you had your feet still off the floor, bring them down behind the buttocks. And we're going to take our hands and put them behind the head. And we're going to inhale. And as you exhale, stretch the skull by pulling at the base of the skull. Stretch the neck by pulling at the base of the skull. And then inhale and lift the head away from the hands. Exhale, catch the head and pull at the base of the skull. Inhale, lift the hands. Exhale, catch the skull and pull at the base of the skull. Inhale, lift. Exhale, pull at the base of the skull. And now with some resistance from the hands, start to bring the head down. And as you do, the hands move up toward the top of the head until your head is all the way back down. And relax. So settle the feet behind the buttocks. Push off with the balls of the feet. Slide the shoulder blade, catch the shoulder blades on the mat, and they will be pulled down the back as you push off with your feet. Inhale, hands behind the head. Exhale. Inhale, lift. Exhale, catch. Inhale, lift. Exhale, catch. You're just lifting the head. Inhale, lift. Exhale, catch and pull. Leave the head up, but let it rest in your hands. Now you can point the elbows toward the ceiling or the wall in front of you and hold the weight of your head and move it around a little bit, keeping it loose. And then as you exhale, you're going to lift your buttocks and move the sit bones, the bony parts under the buttocks, toward the backs of the knees. And as you do that, you're pulling at the base of the skull and you're starting to move your hands up to the top of your head. And the hips are up and the head is down. And you're kind of on the tops of the shoulders a little bit. Now, relaxing the elbows out as you exhale. Start to come down, drawing the abdomen toward the spine. And as you come down, you keep the waist narrowed. And you might take a breath before you come all the way down. Exhale, come down a little more, narrowing the waist. Inhale, maybe once more. And as you exhale, come all the way down. As you're narrowing the waist, you're slowly letting go of the pull of the hamstrings toward the knee. You're moving it back to the hamstrings, being in a relaxed position. So we're going to do that one more time. Put the hands behind the head. Feet behind the buttocks. Take a breath in as you exhale. Pull at the base of the skull for a moment and then put the head back down. Inhale and lift. Exhale and catch. Pull. Inhale and lift. Exhale and catch. Pull. Inhale and lift. Exhale, hold on to the skull while you pull at the base of the skull and move the sit bones towards the backs of the knees. You're shortening the hamstrings and eventually the head starts coming down to the floor. You're moving your hands out of the way and the whole time you're pulling the sit bones towards the backs of the knees. Now, if you have low back problems, you may not want to go up very far or go up at all. You're going to be careful about that. You want to keep pulling the sit bones towards the backs of the knees and keep the knees lined up with the feet. Don't turn the feet out. They're parallel. and let the knees follow the feet. So they're looking at the middle toes. But you keep moving the sit bones towards the backs of the knees. And then as you exhale, you're letting go of that movement of the sit bones towards the backs of the knees, but you're letting go very slowly so that the hamstrings are strong and you're moving the buttocks down just a little bit at a time, and you're narrowing the waist and keeping the lower back and front body long. Breath in, you might come all the way down and release the buttocks, release the arms. Relax in the neck and the shoulders, and breathe. Now, if you were using the hamstrings and the abdomen to control that movement, you should not have any discomfort in your lower back, especially not any new discomfort in your lower back. You might have something that's left over that you came in with that is still there a little bit, but maybe even that feels better. However, if that's not true, if you came in not feeling anything in your back and now you do, first of all, you're going to recognize that that's a pose you need to look more deeply into to see why that bothered your back, and to do the actions that I was describing and maybe get a little stronger in that way, and it would help you as you go up and down. If it's an old injury, you're going to look at that too and see if doing this pose in the way I suggested might begin to relax that discomfort. If it doesn't, maybe you'll leave that pose out, at least for the time being. And if you still feel uncomfortable, you can do one of two things. One, you can just put the hands back on the thighs and press into the thighs, drawing the abdomen in and narrowing the waist as the hands push into the thighs. You don't have to do that. It just happens naturally. And breathing. You could also bring the knees back, but hug the abdomen in as you bring the knees back. And try not to flatten the lower back, and hug into the shins or the backs of the thighs. And hopefully you'll feel a little bit better in the lower back. You can also rock from side to side, or draw circles with your knees and go in the other direction. Hopefully that will all help your lower back. In any of these poses, if you have issues, you're going to adjust, maybe not do the pose if you think it is not good for you, or do it less. You don't have to go as far into it. And always look for, where is the strength in this pose and where is the relaxation? Every pose is a combination of the two. So now we're going to turn on to the side and come up. And if you can get a blanket, you're going to put that blanket underneath, put a blanket across the middle of your mat or the middle of your working place, wherever you're practicing. And you're going to put your hands in front of the blanket and your knees on the blanket. I actually like to put the fold of the blanket up at the top, and put your hands in front of the blanket and your knees are underneath the hips. Now we're going to draw circles with the hips. Just breathing while you're doing that. And then go the other way. Okay, so we're on our hands and knees, and your pads of your hands are forming a little table. And the corners of that little table are the base of the little finger, base of the pointing finger, base of the thumb, and then right across from the base of the thumb, that outer point there. So you're not actually in that wrist part. You're trying to be in the table that you're forming underneath the pad of your hand. And your knees are underneath your hips, and you'll inhale and round up, and exhale and tip up. When you tip up, the back drops in and the front opens up. Inhale, round up, and exhale, tip up. And if you watch my arms, they stay strong. They don't start collapsing like this. They're pushing off, they're strong. And they stay strong even through the exhalation. Now, if you're working on a soft surface like a very thick rug, you may want to work on something that's a little more solid so that your wrists don't tend to just sink down there into the rug. So a harder surface or a very hard rug in comparison to something that's real squishy. All right, so inhale up and exhale, sit bones up, head up. Inhale, round up, and exhale, tip up. And notice those phases of the breath where you might have a pause at the end of the inhalation. And perhaps a pause at the end of the exhalation. And those pauses are relaxed. They aren't strained at all. And they may not even exist. It might be just inhale, exhale, and that is fine. And now we're going to change our movement a little bit. Inhale and round up. Exhale, tip up and go back. Inhale and round up. Exhale, tip up and go back. If this is too much for your knees, you can sit on a chair and you can work at the chair so that you inhale and round and exhale and draw the chest through and maybe come toward the thighs. Inhale and round and exhale and go forward. Then you don't have to have your hands on the floor. You could also, hands on the chair, inhale and round, exhale and tip up, inhale and round, exhale and tip up. So you adjust as you need. Now we're going to change our pattern just a little bit. And we'll look for that pause again and inhale and round. Maybe pause a moment. Exhale, tip up and go back. So you'll just be doing the same thing if you're using the chair. Inhale, round. Exhale, tip up and go back. Now, as you inhale, if you have a pause, you wait. And as you exhale, you tip up and you wait for the pause. And if there's a pause, you go back. So you're either inhale, round, exhale, tip up and go back, or inhale, round. Exhale, tip up. Pause, go back. So do a few rounds in whatever rhythm works for you. Do not strain your breath. No, don't try to hold it if you're not naturally holding it. And every single time may not have a pause. Okay, so now we're going to put our forearms on the floor in front of the blanket, and the elbows are right underneath the shoulders, and the fingers are interlaced. And we're going to step back with our knees until our elbows are underneath the shoulders still. They haven't moved, the shoulders haven't moved back, but the height of the buttocks is about the height of your shoulders. So this is not like this with the buttocks way up in the air, but back a little farther so that the buttocks can be down. And it's not this where the hips are down. The hips are up to about the height of your shoulders. And then as you breathe, you're going to draw that abdomen in and breathe. Hug the sides in. Narrow the waist. You feel like your abdomen draws in toward the spine, but it doesn't change the spine. It just rests against the spine and hugs into it to give it support. But it doesn't flatten the back. It doesn't round the back. The back stays the same, but the abdomen is hugging in and narrowing the waist. Then stretch out the legs, put the hips on the floor, the belly on the floor. And we're going to take our legs, bend them, and rock the feet back and forth from side to side with the legs bent. And then relax. So you can relax with your head to the left. You can have your head on your hands or just head on the floor. And you're bringing that right ear as close to the floor as you can, or as close to your hand if your head is on your hand. You're probably looking at my my microphone. All right, so you're going to place your forehead on the floor. I'm going to go back just a little bit so maybe you can see me better. So you're going to put your forehead on the floor. I'm have to keep talking, so I'm going to put my chin on the floor. But you have your forehead on the floor. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, press into the tops of your feet. And I mean the upper side of your feet. So you're pressing into the toes and pressing into the upper arch, and your toes are pointed. The underside of the toes are not on the floor. And lift the knees a little bit. And then as if you could push the buttocks toward the heels, do that. And then inhale and roll your shoulders toward the ears, up toward the ceiling, and back, reaching the arms, still pressing into the tops of the feet, still moving the buttocks toward the heels. Inhale, maybe you come up a little bit. And exhale, maybe you stay up, or maybe you come down a little bit, or maybe you come completely down. Inhale. Up, maybe you stay up, maybe not. Exhale. Inhale, up. Stay up or not. The feet are still on the floor. They're not reaching off the floor. Exhale, relax. Bring the arms down. Bring the shoulders down. Legs release. And the head looks to the right. Left ear is as close to the floor as you can have it. Now we're going to bring the forearms onto the floor again. Elbows in front of the blanket. And we're going to do Sphinx pose. Sphinx pose has the shoulders right over the elbows. Palms can be flat, or you can interlace the fingers if that's more comfortable for your shoulders. You're drawing the abdomen in and back a bit so that the rib cage might move back just a little bit to relax the lower back. If you're more comfortable with a bigger curve in the lower back, you can relax the abdomen toward the floor. You can relax, you can lessen the strain on the lower back by pushing away with your arms. You're not really going anywhere, but it does draw the rib cage back when you do that. You can intensify a little bit by pulling back with the arms. And you're just breathing naturally and noticing, how does the breath affect the pose? How does the pose affect the breath? Does the inhalation relax the lower back, for example? You can look back over your left shoulder and then look back over your right shoulder. And then come back down again, moving the elbows out and rocking the hips back and forth, or you can bend the knees and rock the feet back and forth. And relax. So for those of you who would like to come up into upward facing dog, I'm going to talk you through that. For everyone else, that may be, if you don't know downward facing dog, you might just watch this time. If it looks like it's too hard for your back, you could just walk your knees forward one at a time and come into the pose of the child again, or you could roll over onto your back and rest for a moment. So to go into upward facing dog, we're going to start with locust pose, which has the feet off the floor and the arms off the floor, like we did cobra pose a moment ago, only with the legs off the floor too. So take a breath in, put your forehead on the floor, activate your legs so that the knees come off the floor. Take a breath in and move the buttocks toward the heels. Inhale, roll the shoulders up, forward, up, reach back, take the shoulder blades down, and at the same time reach the legs up. This is locust pose. Breathing and observing. And then bending the elbows and putting the hands down on the mat. Take a breath in, roll the shoulders toward the ears, up toward the ceiling. As you take the shoulder blades down, push off. And if you want to intensify it a little bit, you could curl your toes to face the floor and walk your legs a little further forward so that the shoulders are right over the wrists. And then as you exhale, you can go back to pose of the child and relax. You could take your knees far apart and come down between the legs if that is good for you. You could come onto your hands, put your head on your hands, or you can put your head on the floor, or you could take a block or a book, put your head on the block or book. If that's too much for your knees, go on your back and rest. You can rest with your legs apart or together, whatever feels good. So we're going to move the blanket aside. You might need 2 blocks for this. We're going to stand up, shake out a little bit. And we're going to do a lunge. Now, again, this might be hard on people with knee problems or hip problems. So you can take your chair and put it up at the head of your mat and use that chair so that you don't have to have your arms down as low. If you're used to doing lunges, then you're going to do a lunge with your hands on the floor or on the block. So we're going to start close to the chair and then step back. And we'll take a breath in, reach out and up. As you exhale, fold forward. Now notice that I'm keeping my torso really straight. I'm not folding in the torso, I'm folding in the hip joints. And as I breathe, I'm drawing the back body toward the front body. Put your hands on the chair, step back with the right foot. If you're at the chair, you step forward with the left up to the chair and reach back with the right foot. Now you're keeping the hips, if you're used to doing lunge, you're keeping the hips level. There's a tendency to drop the right hip. You don't want to do that. Just keep them level. And you're bringing the front of the right thigh up toward the back of the right thigh. Lifting it up without lifting the hip. And you're coming down as low as you can comfortably come without going lower than the front knee. The front knee points toward the middle toes. And as you reach back through that right heel, you're also lifting the front of the right thigh. Now, rock back and forth and step. If you're at the chair, you're 1 step away from the chair. Bow again. And bend your knees, reach out. And then step into your feet and push off to come up and reach. And you're reaching the right arm and the left arm away from their feet. Alternating right arm, left arm, right arm, left arm as you push in to the bottoms of the feet, especially the center pad of the heels. Exhale, Tadasana. Inhale, reach out and up. Exhale, Uttanasana. If you're working at the chair, you're going to drop the back body into the front body and the torso goes toward the floor, keeping the head in line with the spine. Everyone is doing that, but you're just not going down as far, and you're using the chair to hold your body weight a little bit. Then you're going to step back with the left foot. The right foot is forward. And breathing, you're going to take the back foot away from its hip, but keep the hips even. Don't let that left hip drop down. Keep it up. And let the front of the left hip move into the back of the left hip, so you're not dropping in the front of the leg. Instead, you're lifting the front of the leg. And you're trying to come to the point where the right knee and the right hip are about at the same level. And then step forward again, come back to your starting position. Inhale, reach out and up. Exhale, Tadasana. We're going to do this one more time. You're either using the chair, as I showed you before, or no chair. You might have blocks on either side of the feet. Take a breath in. Exhale, Uttanasana. Now, if you can't fold forward without rounding the back, if you find yourself rounding the back, you want to go back enough that you can drop the back into the front. You can use your hands to help hold the weight, and you're trying to work the abdomen onto the thighs. Now, we haven't done a lot of stretching of the hamstrings yet, so you might want to bend your knees a little bit if you start to feel stressed. You don't want to feel this in the back of the knees or in the buttocks. You want to feel it in the middle hamstrings. Stepping back, either hands on the blocks or not. And you want to work that back foot back far enough that the knee and the hip are about at the same level. Breathing. Rock back and forth and step. Bow, Uttanasana. Bend the knees, inhale back up. Exhale, Tadasana. Inhale back up. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward bend. And again, we're trying to get the abdomen on the thighs without stressing the backs of the legs. So you might have your knees a little bent. And your back is dropping in toward the front. And then you're going to step back with the left foot. And you want your right hip to be about the same height as the right knee and your left hip to be even with the right hip. Taking the front of the left thigh up. And then rock back and forth and step. Fold in the hip joints. Inhale, reach out and up. Exhale, Tadasana. And align ears over shoulders, over hips, over knees, over ankles. The inside edge of the ball of the foot is anchored down and the outside edge of the heel and the feet are parallel. The outside edge of the ball of the foot is anchored and the inside edge of the heel. The feet are parallel. Now visualize the center pad of the heel. Breath in. As you exhale, reach into the center of the pad of the heel and see the torso align. Ears over shoulders, over hips, over knees, over ankles. Pressing into the center pad of the heel and anchored on all four corners. Now we just do one standing pose, triangle pose. So we are a little bit apart. You're lining up the right foot with the left arch. Know that the object in this is not to get your hand to the floor. So don't even think about reaching the floor. That's not important. Taking a breath in, we're going to really lengthen the side body. And you can take your hands on the hips and push the hips down and lengthen the side body. Now, this is not really a bent knee pose, but we're going to use that right knee bent at first. And we're going to make the knee go straight by pushing the foot into the floor and swinging the hip away from the foot on the right. So take a breath in, reaching the sides long. As you exhale, we're going to push into the right foot and swing the hips toward the left. So you can swing the hips by just moving in the hip joints. You can swing the hips by taking that right hand into the hip joints. And if you can see, I'm keeping that right side really long. It's okay if the left side drops in a little bit. But the right side, the under ribs are really long. And the more I push into the floor and the further I can swing the hips, the more my front leg begins to go straight. And the buttock on that right side is pulled in right over that line between the 2 feet. Now notice the breath. How does the breath change this pose? If you're looking at, for example, the length on the underside ribs and versus the top ribs, and you want the underside ribs to be longer, what if you breathe into the top ribs, and then as you exhale, drop the top ribs towards the bottom ribs. Then you see how when you drop these ribs in, the under ribs get longer. Inhale into the underside. As you exhale, drop the underside ribs. Now look at your left shoulder, and with the head and shoulder working together, roll the left shoulder up and back, and then look beyond that shoulder. Maybe you can look up at the left hand. Maybe the left hand goes up. Keep moving the hips to the left. If it bothers you on the inside of the right knee, bend your knee. As you push off, you're going to have the knee only get straight until it's comfortable. Make sure you have the buttock on the right pulled in. Make sure that you are not trying to straighten that knee by pushing into it. You're straightening it by pushing into the floor and moving the hips. Breath in, coming back up. Exhale, come to center. Notice the difference between the right and the left. Inhale, stepping the left foot out, right foot turned in. Make a line between the middle of the left foot and the right arch. The left knee is bent. Take the buttock on the left, pull it in over the line between the 2 feet. Now look, you've got a bent knee on the left. Take a breath in. Begin to move the hips to the right and see how now the left side is really opening up, really lengthening. The right side is dropping, closing down a little bit. And you're pushing into the foot. If it bothers you on the left knee, maybe you're trying to straighten the knee by pushing into the knee. Don't do that. Push into the foot, swing the hip toward the right, and go as far as it's comfortable for you to go. No problems on the inside of the knee. Breathing, fill the back body. As you exhale, turn. Looking at the right shoulder, the shoulder goes up and back and takes the head with it. Breathing. Staying torso lined up over the line between the 2 feet. Don't press your knee down, your kneecap down. Either hold on at the hip joint or below the knee. Breath in, bend the front knee, come back up, feet together, back to Tadasana, and see how the 2 sides feel now, right and left. So we're going to do one more pose. It's it could be done at the wall with your legs up the wall, or it could be done lying on your back with a book or a block underneath your buttocks. And you want that book or block not to be in your waist. It's lower than your waist. And you want your buttocks to feel like it's maybe hanging off of the block a little bit. And we're going to open up the chest. We're going to walk the shoulder blades down like we did before at the beginning of class. And turn the shoulders out toward the floor. And then bring the legs up. Reach them toward the ceiling and breathe. So the lower back is not slumping toward the floor. The shoulders are forming a little table. The buttock is reaching from that little table of the shoulders toward the floor and landing on the block, but still moving toward the floor so that there's a nice arch in the lower back. And if you feel that this is pressure in your eyes or your head, just put the feet down, put the block away, and just have your legs up without any block. And that might be if you have unmedicated glaucoma or high blood pressure that's not medicated. If you feel a thumping in your head or pressure in your eyes, come down. You can still put your legs up, maybe up against the wall, but have your buttocks be the same level as your back, as your shoulders, as your head. So we're going to stay for a few more breaths. And then when you're ready, you're going to draw the abdomen in, bend the knees, and as you narrow the waist, you're going to bring the feet down. Removing the block and going into Shavasana, the relaxation pose. Stretching the legs out or bending the knees, whichever feels good for you. Resting with your palms up. I'm going to sit up, but you're going to stay lying down. If you feel like you can't lie comfortably on your back, you can roll to your side. As you're resting, you're aware of the inner experience of relaxing, of letting go of tension wherever you see it. A good place to look to begin with is just your face. Where do you notice you have tension? Do you have tension around your forehead, across your forehead, around your eyes, around the mouth? And let go of the tension that you find there. You notice how the breath might have changed through your practice. Observing. As you look at your forehead again for a moment, notice that there may be tension as the brain is pushing forward a little bit toward the forehead. See if you can relax the brain back toward the back of the head. Let it relax toward the floor if your back of your head is on the floor. And the same for the eyes. When you're concentrating hard, the eyes move forward in the eye sockets. And you're just going to let them relax back. Soft, observant. And aware of any tension that might be around the tongue. Notice that the tongue might be pressing hard into the roof of the mouth. See if you can relax it so the back of the tongue, the root of the tongue, relaxes away from the roof of the mouth. And the tongue rests gently in the space between the teeth, with maybe just the little tip of your tongue touching the back of the teeth, or just right gently at the roof of the mouth behind the teeth. But the back part of the tongue is relaxed and soft. We're going to listen just a little bit to the sounds of the bell. And seeing if you can hear the sounds come back to you. If you're ready to move, I'll talk you through moving. If you're not ready, just stay where you are. You're fine. You don't have to move yet. And we're going to start by just wiggling our fingers and our toes. Noticing, you were just still for a little while. How do the fingers and toes feel? There may have been a lot of blood that came in. After using the muscles, the blood goes back in. And the more you relax, the more blood flows in. And then you move again. And you can feel it feel as a little puffy, squeezing it back out. And then moving your arms and legs and stretching a little bit. Maybe moving on to your side for a moment, observing what that's like, resting there. And if you'd like, and if you're ready, you can come up and sit, bringing your hands together in Namaste and honoring each and every one of us for our dedication, for our practice that helps all of us stay in practice. And honoring that place where we find love and peace, happiness, harmony. That place from which grows kindness and compassion and appreciation, gratitude. And out of all that, the ability to be equanimous in the midst of everything that might be going on in your life. Equanimous, having a sense of inner balance. There are things we cannot control going on in our lives, and yet we have our inner ability to find that equanimity when we need it, to dig down in deep within ourselves and find that harmony. And the place to start to find it is in that willingness to just stop and look. Just stop and become aware. Be present in this moment, with ourselves and whomever else we might be with. Just being present. Namaste. And be happy. Thank you.